Hi guys, this video is to teach you about MLA format and in-text citations. Most of this will be a review for you, but this is our first attempt at doing a homework assignment, where you're watching this video as a homework assignment, taking notes on it, and answering a few questions. So do your best. You will need a paper and pencil ready to go now if you don't have that already. And make sure to take note of questions that you have, because when you come back on Tuesday, we'll discuss your questions and I'll show you a few more examples that are more specific to our research papers. These examples in this slideshow are a little off topic. They're more meant for literary response essays, which we've done already. So here we go. Pause, stop now, and make sure you have binder paper. Put your full name and heading on it, and title it the same as this slideshow, MLA format and in-text citations. First, for formatting a paper, you're always doing this, typing in Times New Roman 12-point font. Only print on one side of the paper. I can help you do that if that's something you need help with. Margins are only 1 inch, and spacing needs to be double spaced so that people can give you feedback when you're revising. When you're in the revision process or editing process, the teacher as well as a partner, an editing partner. And when you're finished with your final draft, your teacher can provide feedback by writing in those spaces. Your heading looks like this: your name, the teacher's name, the class name, and period, as well as the date written as you see here. The title of your essay is written and centered in the middle of your paper. And in the top right corner, you're going to have a header with your last name and the page number. And we'll work on this in class. I'll show you if you're not already sure how to do this formatting when we are in the lab next week. Pause now and number your paper 1 through 5. Write down any of the 5 important things you learned about just now about formatting a paper. Any 5 things. Moving on to in-text citations. So, no citation is needed when you're writing about common knowledge or obvious information most people already know. And we said these were the details before, but really you're going to be using your own words to explain things that are common knowledge. But you will need a citation for any idea that is not your own, that belongs to, say, the author whose article you're reading. Any research, fact, or statistic that's not your own, that comes mostly from the articles you're reading, because unless you did your own research, you are using the research of another author published in another article. And direct quotes, anything you gather that you want to directly quote that belongs to an expert, for example, an expert's words on the topic, you would directly quote that and provide a citation. Now, right now, pause the video and make sure you number 1 through 6 on your paper. Write down 3 examples of when you would use in-text citations. You might need to go back to the previous slide. But when would you use in-text citations? 3 examples. All right, when you are paraphrasing or summarizing another author's ideas, they are still the other author's ideas. You can paraphrase them in your own words, but you still must acknowledge your source. You still must say the author's name or whoever's ideas those were, to make sure you're not plagiarizing an idea. It doesn't have to be word for word, but if you're just repeating the idea in your own words, it could still be considered plagiarism if you don't give credit to your source. So always, if you're in doubt, ask me, or always give credit if you're not sure. Parenthetical citations are also known as in-text citations. Here's an example. Keeling 125 has got the author's last name and the page number, and there is no letter P for page, and there is no comma. It is just very simply written, the author's last name, page number, with parentheses around it, and the period, if you notice, is always after or at the end of that last parentheses. Pause the video in just a minute and write one example of the proper way to write an in-text citation with the author and page number. Pretend the author is S.E. Hinton from The Outsiders and the page is 9. So for number 7, I should see an example of what an in-text citation would look like for the author S.E. Hinton, page number 9. Here are a few examples of other ways of writing in-text citations. Sometimes we mention the author's name at the beginning of a sentence. For example, Wadsworth is an author. This is on page 263. But because we said the author's last name here at the beginning, we actually don't even need to repeat it here like normal, like we would here, Wadsworth 263. So again, if you say the author's name in the sentence, you can just simply state the page at the end of that sentence. Okay, again, you've got your period at the very end after that last parentheses. No P for page, just the number. That's it. Same thing here. You've got the author list named here. Wadsworth explored the role of emotion in the creative process. And then you only need your page number. Okay. Those are just a few examples, and I'll give you more in class on Tuesday. If there is no author, what you do is you write the first distinctive word in the title. So let's say the title starts with the word Plath. And you see quotation marks here. There's going to be quotation marks around the first distinctive word in the title. So if the title begins with the word the, that would not be a distinctive word to include here. You'd have a lot of examples with the, a lot of citations with the as the first word, which is not useful. So the first distinctive word in quotations, the rest is the same, no P, just the page number and a period after. Okay? Keep that in mind. I'm going to ask a question a little bit later, like now. So what do you write for an in-text citation when there is no author? What do you write instead of the author's name? What punctuation do you use? All right, go ahead and answer the question and or give me an example of what you would do. Quotes, how to incorporate quotes into your writing. I've always talked about leading into your quote and explaining your quote in a sandwich form. And I said to think of it like a sandwich and sandwich your quote. Your own words are the bread. And at the top, or the first layer of bread is like the introduction to the quote. And the bottom layer of bread is like the conclusion or explanation of that quote. And in the middle, the meat is your quoted information. And you really do need to explain or lead into your quote before and after for your quote really to have maximum impact. And so the quotes aren't just dropped into your essay. So sandwich your quote. For example, here's a lead-in. As the residents of Maple Street turn on Les Goodman, he warns them that this is your starting. That should frighten you. Page 77. So as you see, this has been cited with just the page number because the author's last name is here. This is a last name with two parts. It's not his first name. It's actually just his last name. And then, actually, no, that's not true. That is his first name, Les Goodman, I believe. First and last, which is fine in this case because we're mentioning the author's name. And then we discuss the quote afterwards by saying that he in this sentence or he in this quote is making clear that his neighbors are choosing a path that can only lead to chaos and the breakdown of their community. This point will later be echoed by the aliens. So there's a lead-in as part of the first sentence. Okay, it's right here before we give the quote, and then the explanation is after. A few other examples of lead-ins, you might say, in the words of researcher McKinsey, Paul Rudnick, director of the CIA, stated, Melinda Stewart, mother of a drunk driver, points out. These would be direct quotes from important people. A researcher would be an expert opinion. Director of the CIA, again, another expert opinion on the topic. depending on your topic, mother of a drunk driver, an important person to quote because of the emotional appeals behind what she's saying. And all of these are good examples right here. Smith 4, Jones 2, Lee 3, period after the parentheses to end each of these as complete sentences. These are just a few examples, and we'll talk more in class about these and other options. Parenthetical citations. If you have already mentioned the author's name, just put the page number. I've given you a few examples of that. Keeling states that this poem stands in stark contrast to the work of other confessional poets, with just the page number at the end. So as long as the author's name, last name, not the first, but at least the last name, and the page number in parentheses are there in that sentence, you are good and you have both your bases covered. But page and author must happen. All right, questions. These are your last few questions. When would you not need to use an in-text citation? This is number 9. Give an example of when you would not need to use an in-text citation. Number 10, if you paraphrase another author's ideas, do you need to write an in-text citation? This is just a yes or no answer. If you're paraphrasing and it's another author's ideas. Number 11, what is an in-text citation? Why is it used? Explain what it is and the purpose. So what is it and why? That's the purpose. Number 12, write down one question you have about either MLA formatting or in-text citation so far. Write down 2 questions if you have 2, or 3 if you have 3, so you don't forget to ask me in class on Tuesday. All right, finally, thank you for doing this and listening. I am curious to see how you felt about this, and when I see you in class Tuesday, we'll talk about it. Good work. Be sure you have all questions answered. I think there were 12, not 11. Yep. 12 questions. Rewatch the video if necessary and to clarify confusions you have so far and bring those questions to class Tuesday. And now draw your favorite doodle on the bottom of this paper. Smile. Thank you.